What up, Survivor nerds? I'm going to try something new here on TikTok where I'm just going to tell some behind the scenes stories, trying to go through all of my experiences on Survivor. I've played 4 times, and I'm going to try chronologically to start from the very beginning. Tocantins. It was over 15 years ago, 2008, fall of 2008 is when it filmed. And I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about what happened, things you didn't see. Sometimes they'll be entertaining. Hopefully they'll be entertaining. There'll be at least some new inside baseball type stuff. And that's it. So to start this series off, let's go all the way back to day one of Tocantins. We were driving on that giant truck, the entire cast, out into the middle of nowhere in the Brazilian highlands. And that day, I mean, we'd been there almost a week, acclimating and learning about the show and the experience and the do's and don'ts. And they never tell you that you're going to start on that day. They're just like, oh, just get in your game clothes for some more press. We're going to drive around and stuff. And then they spring it on you that you start the show, which you kind of figure out pretty early in that day. But we're all on this truck and we're driving around, and Jeff's getting the shots. He's hanging off the end of it, and we're all just sitting there. We're told to just, look around. It's that classic, like, look into the distant shot on Survivor. And a lot of things happened that day on the truck specifically that never made air. Why would they? It was just the opening scene. But we were all sitting there. We were not supposed to talk, supposed to be quiet. And I remember a handful of things. Like, first, I got hungry and there was a bushel of bananas there. So I ate a banana off of the bushel of bananas. It was like a decorative thing. And people were mad. People were very upset at that. I remember looking at the cast and I thought everyone was upset. I talked to Brendan later and he was like, no, I wanted you to give me a banana too. But it seemed like everyone was bugged by that. There was a time when we stopped to reset and I got off the truck, and as I got off, I stepped on a ceramic pot and smashed it, like, on accident. And one of the one of the other contestants told on me. I saw her go over to Jeff and be like, hey, and pointed to the pot and stuff. I was like, that's a weird thing to tattletale on. Jeff, I think, did not care at all. I think I even saw his mouth say, I don't care, or something like that, which was hilarious. And we got back on, and this was hours. We were driving around this truck back and forth on this deserted road, dirt road, for hours, getting the shot. And we were about to start the game. And as we were starting the game, we got off of the truck and we all took a bathroom break. And then they searched us all for anything, just like, kind of like frisked us down a little bit, make sure we didn't have stuff in our pockets and hidden anywhere, because people do sneak stuff on Survivor. And they checked the bags that they had given us. And I was hoarding the rope from the truck. So any bits of rope I could find on the truck that weren't like really tethering stuff down, I was putting into my bag. And they looked in the bag. One of the producers looked in my bag, and I had like a stack of rope in my bag. And they looked, and then they like walked away with my bag and showed it to other people. And then they came back to me and were like, you can't have that. And they took it. I was like, okay. And they took it from me. But there was like a small moment where it looked like they were going to let me keep that rope, which it wasn't. It was like 2 or 3 foot long scraps of rope. And so it wasn't a lot, but they did take it from me. And then they started right into the game. That's when they lined us all up in front of the truck and we got going. I don't even know what I would have done with those scraps of rope. Maybe used them as a fire start, maybe tethered stuff together, but I don't know. It was, I kind of thought it was insignificant enough they were going to let me keep it. And I think they were like, he was just playing the game. It's fine. But they did take the rope from me. That's it. You're going to get more of these. I'm going to try and do them a few times a week. And that's where we leave off, is the opening scene of Survivor Tocantins. Thanks. Last thing on the truck ride into Tocantins to start off this season that I totally forgot, slipped my mind, but I remembered it after I recorded the last video, is we were driving, and Sierra, you could tell she was feeling so sick. She had like her shawl or her scarf or whatever over her head, just head down. And this giant locust or grasshopper, like literally like a foot long, maybe longer, foot and a half. It was like this. It was gigantic. Just you could hear it, sounded like a helicopter in the sky. It was just like landed on her, like right up here close to her. And she literally, without even hesitating or thinking, smacked the crap out of it. She hit it so hard, went flying off of her. And that was actually a moment where I was like, okay, she's going to be okay. I could maybe work with her. Little did I know. But that was a pretty badass moment. I'm back, Survivor nerds, and I have a new story to tell. I was planning on just doing this series about stuff that you didn't see on camera but happened during filming of the show. But a lot of people have asked about before the game even started, the Ponderosa pre-game camp. And so I will get into a few memories I have from that camp. First of all, it took 2 flights, multiple days, and a Jeep ride, like a 4 or 5 hour Jeep ride on a dirt road to even get to where we were filming. And then when we get out, I remember, well, a couple things. I remember from that Jeep ride that Sandy, the old lady on the season, kept trying to like climb over me to look out the window, and you're not allowed to talk or interact with anybody. So it was like super annoying to me. I was like super bugged. It would be like someone sitting on the aisle in an airplane and trying to look out your window by like climbing over your lap. That was like happening constantly to me with her. Then we get to Ponderosa, and everybody has to carry their own luggage to this rudimentary camp. It's like literally nothing, just tents and dirt. And I think Taj had wheeled luggage and Aaron maybe had wheeled luggage. I had a backpacker's backpack, but I thought it was so beautiful that some people brought this wheeled luggage and were trying to wheel it on this like sandy dirt path that wasn't even anything. We were just in the sticks in the middle of nowhere. And then maybe my core memory from Ponderosa was we were allowed to like take a break by the river and swim and cool off because it was super hot out there. But we weren't allowed to interact at all. Like they always had people watching us, making sure we weren't talking, making sure we weren't interacting. And we were all in the river, but we had to be like a certain distance apart from each other. COVID rules, before that was even a thing, like for reals, I think they told us 6 feet apart from each other so they could tell we weren't talking to each other. And we were all just kind of standing in the river, lounging like shoulder depth. And Jerry couldn't swim and he was not comfortable in the water. And there was just one dip in the river that was like over 6 feet once you stepped off. And I was standing like the closest to him, and he took one step back into this ledge that was just a little too deep for him. And he started panicking. I could see on his face, the life flashing before his eyes. And I was staring right at him, looking at him. He was looking at me. And we were both, in my mind, like, should we interact now? Should I save your life? Is it worth it to maybe get in trouble for interacting? And I was looking at Jerry like maybe he can get it by himself because he was just like struggling. And I finally reached under the water, grabbed him, and just pulled him enough to get back on the ledge. And I saved his life. He almost drowned in like 6 feet of water with a ton of people around because we were all too scared to do anything. And he was great. And I think that kind of locked him to me as we started the game, and he was an ally of mine. I guess it was kind of a pre-game move, but it wasn't planned that way. Okay, that's it for the day. Hope you enjoyed. All right, back to some more Survivor lore. We're still at Tocantins, season 18, day 1, and we just got this map thrown to our tribe, and it's like this really elementary like treasure hunt map with like zigzag dotted line, X marking the spot, and some random landmarks like trees and stuff. And they tell us to get going on our journey, and we start walking. If I remember correctly, it was like 13 miles. It was brutal, but we kept following that map and opening it up and looking, and there were camera people following us and watching us, and they kept, when we wanted to stop to get our bearings and look to see if we were going the right direction, they would be like, no, just keep going. And we'd stop and we'd all gather around the map and be like, is that the tree? Is that the tree? There's so many trees on the 13-mile hike through the jungle. And finally, after we'd done that a lot of times and wasted so much time doing it, one of the producers came up and was like, guys, the map is just like a made up map. Follow, if you look in the distance, you can see our camera crew out there. Follow them and you'll just get to where you're going. And that saved us so much time because we were literally stopping and arguing over the directions every 10 minutes. So that's it. Just follow the camera guys in front of you and eventually you'll get there. That's the lesson I learned. All right, welcome back to another Survivor story time. Very, very early in Tocantins. We just got to camp and I was going in for maybe my first confessional with a producer. And to give the story a little background, before you actually start filming, they run you through a week of like Survivor school stuff. And they tell you like the do's and don'ts of the areas. And there were 3 things about Tocantins. Well, 4, I guess. There was lots of wildlife. So lots of venomous snakes, and there was jaguars and an anaconda and stuff in the area. So they said, be careful of that stuff. Then there was this like sawgrass that would actually like paper cut your legs if you walked through it. So they were like, avoid walking through that stuff. There was a tree out there or a plant that if you got the sap from the tree in your bloodstream, certain death. So they said, don't do that. And then lastly, I remember they said, cashews grow in the wild out there, and you can eat the fruit of the cashew. A cashew is actually a seed, not a nut. And you can eat the cashew apple, the fruit of it, but under no circumstances do you crack open the shell of the seed where the cashew is and eat the cashew because it is very toxic unless processed. And so they were like, eat the fruit all you want, avoid the nut. And we get out there, and as I walked into camp, like the first day, I found a little teeny scrawny cashew tree with one measly little fruit on it, teeny tiny, like maybe the size of a cherry. And it had a little cashew nut attached to the end of it. They are on the exterior for some reason, the cashew pods. And so I ate the fruit and didn't eat the nut because they are dangerous. But when I went into this interview, the producer asked if I'd found any food yet. And I said, yeah, I had. And she asked what? And I said, a cashew. And she said, oh, did you eat it? I was like, yeah, it was delicious. I ate the fruit, and then I cracked open the pod and ate the cashew seed. And her face just all color gone. And she said, for real? And I said, yeah, it tasted kind of funky, but like calories are calories out here. And she didn't know what to do. Like you could see her like trying not to panic in front of me, but she was like, okay, hold on a second. And she like got on her walkie. They always have walkies with earpieces that they can communicate with each other. And she's like, hey, yeah, I got a little question over here. And then she looked at me again. She's like, did you really eat the cashew nut? And I was like, yeah. And then I could tell that she was just like mortified. I don't know if I would have died or what, but she was horrified. And after that, I was like, I'm just kidding with you. And she was like, oh my gosh, that would have been so bad. But yeah, I don't know if they liked me more or less after that, but sometimes you just got to have fun, right? All right, it's time for some more Survivor stories. This time I'm talking about water, the water we're drinking on the island or in camp. Tocantins, we went out there. We had a little bit of water that we had gotten from the truck, but when we ran out, we had to drink something. And we found this little spring and we were just wanting to drink from it straight, but production kept telling us to boil it. And they kept telling us, and they kept encouraging us to boil everything and keep boiling it. And it was such a chore because you had one pot, you'd boil it, it would be scalding hot, you'd be dying of thirst. So eventually we just all made the decision to just drink the water without boiling it. We had unlimited water. And after the season filmed, Production actually told us that the water we were getting was perfectly clean and super drinkable, but they wanted us to boil it for some reason. I don't know, just wanted to do extra chores. It's like weaving palm fronds. Don't do it, it's an extra chore. Boiling water, now you don't have to do it because they just fill up those wells with fresh water, though those wells after 26 days do get pretty disgusting. There's bugs and stuff in there, but it is fresh water. They just don't clean it out every day. So I just drink the water. That's another lesson. Write it down. All right, today we're talking hidden immunity idols. Very early in Tocantins season 18 of Survivor, we had just gotten to camp, been there maybe a day or two, and before we started that huge journey on day one, Sierra actually, as the odd person out, or we voted her out, I think, she actually got a helicopter ride to camp, and she also got a clue to the hidden immunity idol. So when we got there, we kind of knew something was out there, and we didn't know if Sierra had found it or what was going on. And I specifically remember Brendan looking very hard at the Tremel little statue figurine where Tremel was, and he was like looking around, kind of knocking it back and forth, looking, and production actually came to us and told us to stop poking around Tremel like that we couldn't. And guess what? The hidden immunity idol was in a carve out under like the tiki skirt of the Tremel statue. So Brendan might have just stumbled upon it by himself without any clues if they would have allowed him to keep looking. But they didn't. And ultimately, Brendan did get control of that hidden immunity idol anyways. But would Brendan have been the first to find a hidden immunity idol without clues?